I want to talk to you about Form 8962, Premium Tax Credit, as well as Forms 1095A, 1095B, and 1095C. All you need to know. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of the Awesome Studio Kiwi Show. How are you today? I hope you are doing fantastic. I'm doing marvelous, if you were to ask me. If you are doing as great as I am, go grab a cup of coffee or tea or vodka and let's roll. In today's show, we are covering 4 healthcare tax forms. Form 95A, Health Insurance Marketplace Statement. Form 1095B, Health Coverage. Form 1095C, Employer Provided Health Insurance Offer and Coverage. And Form 8962, Premium Tax Credit. So for Form 8962, I'll go in depth and give you line-by-line instructions on how to fill it and how to file it. And if you're just interested in the Form 8962 part, so you just want to fast forward the video 3 to 4 minutes, all right? Now, let's first talk about Form 1095A. There is no longer an individual mandate, and you will not pay a penalty if you did not have health insurance in 2020. However, we're still talking about it because if you received health insurance through the health insurance marketplace, also known as an exchange, your coverage will be reported on a 1095A, and you will need to file with you need to fill it out, file this information with your 2020 tax return. Right, this is very important. And now the thing here is that if you don't receive the form, you can go to healthcare.gov. If you and your family members purchase health insurance through the marketplace for some or all the year, you need to report your 1095A information for the premium tax credit. And so I'm showing you right now on the screen what it looks like, the health insurance marketplace statement 1095A. And as the form is to be completed by the marketplaces, individuals cannot complete and use Form 1095A available on IRS.gov. Now, individuals receiving a completed Form 1095A from the health insurance marketplace will use that information received on the form and the guidance in the instructions to assist them in filing an accurate tax return. So I'm showing you right now here 1095A, the first form, the first part, and now here we have part 1, part 2, and here part 3. Very important. And one thing I want to say here is that how do you use your Form 1095A? You use that info to report your advance payments on the premium tax credit on Form 8962. I'll go in depth later on. And the payments are on lines 21 to 33 of Form 1098A. So when you prepare your tax return, whether you do it electronically or by yourself, you should see the instructions to be able to fill out that particular form. And one thing that's very important, you got to make sure that the info is correct if you want to claim the premium tax credit. Let me talk to you now about Form 1095B. There is no longer an individual mandate, and you will not pay a penalty if you did not have health insurance in 2020. If you had health insurance and it was reported to you on a Form 1095B, you do not need to file this form. And if you receive health insurance through the health insurance marketplace, your coverage will be reported on 1095A, as I said earlier. But 1095B is also important. Why? I'm showing you right now on the screen. We have a snapshot of that form. This is how it looks like. Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, and Part 4. Now, Form 1095B, the health coverage. This form lists information about your health insurance if you and or your family members are enrolled for coverage through an insurance provider for some or all of the year via your employer, and you have been covered by minimum essential coverage. Minimum essential coverage includes government-sponsored programs such as Medicare, Medicaid, CHIP, the TRICARE, etc., some eligible employer-sponsored plans, individual plans purchased via the marketplace, and coverage deemed as minimum essential via the Department of Health and Human Services. And one thing I want to say here is that Form 1095B is generally provided by employers who have less than 50 employees or small businesses. All right. And this form is used to report health insurance information to the IRS and to taxpayers about their coverage. Now let's move on to Form 1095C. So same thing here. We have the same process here. There is no longer a federal mandate to have health insurance, and you do not have to file Form 1095C on your 2020 tax return. But I'm showing you right now on the screen. We have here a snapshot of 1095C, and this Form 1095C, employer provided health insurance offer and coverage, reports whether your employer offered you health insurance coverage and information about what coverage was offered to you. So this form is for your information only. It's FYI. It's not included in your tax return. You will only need to enter healthcare information if you are insured through the marketplace and need to file Form 1095A. So a healthcare provider can be one of the following. It can be an insurance company not in the marketplace, a government agency such as Medicare and Medicaid, an employer who provides self-insured coverage. This is a health insurance plan offered by or on behalf of an employer to an employee. So basically, I spoke to you about the three forms, 1095A, B, and C. Let's now talk about premium tax credit, the Form 8962. Remember, you will not pay a penalty on your 2020 return if you did not have health insurance in 2020. You are no longer required to report your health insurance on your return unless you or a family member were enrolled in health insurance through the marketplace and advance payments of the premium tax credit were made to your insurance company to reduce your monthly premium payments. And so to claim the premium tax credit, the PTC, you need to actually file Form 8962 with your federal income tax return. This is actually I would say the cornerstone of today's conversation. And the PTC is meant to help people recoup some of the money they spend on marketplace health insurance premiums by lowering their tax burden. So with Form 8962, what you're doing is you're actually reconciling the tax credit you are entitled to with any advanced credit payments or subsidies for the tax year. So generally, to be eligible for the PTC, you or a family member must have been enrolled in a health insurance program through the marketplace for at least 1 month in the tax year, and your household cannot exceed 4 times the poverty level for your family size. Okay, this is pretty important to remember. And one thing I want to say here is that the PTC is a refundable tax credit that can be claimed by eligible persons and families with low to moderate incomes between 100% and 400% of the federal poverty line. And this is meant to help individuals afford health insurance purchased through the health insurance marketplace at healthcare.gov. And one thing I need to mention here is that not everyone can file Form 8962 and claim the premium tax credit. I spoke about the income limitation. I also spoke about the location limitations. Very important. And you cannot use Form 8962 if you get health insurance through another insurer and received a 1095B form that documents your health insurance coverage. You also cannot use Form 8962 if you get coverage through your employer and received a Form 1095C. Sorry, 1095, and not 1099. If you have marketplace coverage and received a 1095A documenting that coverage, you may be a candidate for the premium tax credit. All right, so this is important here. Now, you also have something called the APTC. So this is the advanced payments, or APTC, and this is based on what you entered as your income and personal exemptions. All right, so who must file Form 8962? You can file this form with your 1040 or 1040 NR if any of the following apply. So you want to take the premium tax credit. The APTC was paid during the year for you or someone in your tax household, or APTC was paid for someone, including you, for whom you told the marketplace that you would claim a personal exemption, and neither you nor anyone else claims a personal exemption for that person. So if any of these conditions apply to you, you must file Form 8962 with your income tax return. So this is the key. This is actually the case, even if you otherwise wouldn't need to file taxes. And if you are required to file Form 8962, you cannot use Form 1040 PR or Form 1040 SS. I want to quickly talk to you about the premium tax credit qualifications. You can qualify for the credit if you meet all of the following requirements. I mean all. You do not qualify for coverage through an employer or a government plan. You buy health insurance through the marketplace. You are within certain income limits. You cannot be claimed as a dependent on another person's tax return. And you do not file as married filing separately unless you are a victim of domestic abuse and spousal abandonment. So you're not eligible for the credit if you enroll in an employer-sponsored health insurance plan, including retiree coverage, even if the plan is not affordable or fails to provide minimum value. All right, so there are income values under the federal poverty lines, the federal poverty line that I was talking about earlier, and we're showing you on the screen right now the 2020 income values that fall between the 100 and 400% federal poverty line. All right, and so you can use this value for this year's tax return. So we're showing this on the screen here. You can see it. So for one individual, for two individuals, all the way to 8 for a family of 8. Very important. Now, if you are, one thing that I want to talk about here is that the premium tax credit amount. So the Affordable Care Act bases your credit amount on an income scale. So households and individuals with lower incomes get a larger credit, while those with higher income receive a smaller credit. And since the premium tax credit is also refundable, you will receive the difference of the credit amount and your tax liability if your credit amount is more than your tax liability. So if you don't owe any taxes, you can get the full amount of the credit as a refund. However, if you receive advance payments of the credits, you will need to reconcile the payment with the actual premium tax credit amount, and which is actually something that it definitely makes sense. All right. And one thing I also want to say is that you can claim the credit in one of the following ways. You can have the credit paid in advance to your insurance company. In order to decrease your monthly premium payments, you will need to reconcile the amount paid in advance with the actual credit you calculate. So this is option number 1. Or you can claim all of the credit on your tax return. Remember, though, that's very important to mention that you will need to report any changes to the marketplace to make sure you get the correct advance payment amount. So you need to report anything regarding marriage or divorce, changes in individual or household income, changes in physical address, birth or adoption, losing or gaining healthcare coverage or eligibility, incarceration or release from incarceration, other changes affecting household size and income. This is very important. I'll be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another section of the Awesome Sweetie Kiwi Show. I'm talking to you now. I want to give you now Form 8962 line-by-line instructions. So we're showing to you this right now on the screen here, the Form 8962 and Part 1. So Part 1, so Form 8962 is actually divided into 5 parts. All right, so before you dive into Part 1, you want to write your name and social security number at the top of the form. Part 1 is where you enter your annual and monthly contribution amounts, and you will enter the number of exemptions and the modified AGI, the MAGI, the modified adjusted gross income from your 1040 or 1040 NR. So that's on line 2A. Do you see that? So line 1, you have the tax family size. Line 2A, you put your modified AGI. Line 2B, you need to enter the total of your dependents modified AGI. And you will also enter your household income as a percentage of the federal poverty line. I already spoke about that later on. I showed you the income levels, right? So by the end of Part 1, you will have your annual and monthly contribution limits, and this is line 8A and 8B. So I want to show you right now part two. You can see on the screen here, part two here, you can see on the screen. This is the tax credit claim and reconciliation of advance payments of premium tax credit. And the one thing you hit, this is basically where you will figure out your PTC and compare it against any advance payments. So if you had marketplace coverage for the whole year, you will use line 11 to enter your annual totals. Otherwise, use one or more of the lines for the 12 months of the year to enter your monthly contributions. And at the end of part two, you'll have three very important numbers to enter. So folks, see line 24, this is where you will write the total PTC. On line 25, you will write the advance payment of PTC amount, and on line 26, you will write the net PTC. And if line 24 is greater than line 25, you need to subtract line 25 from line 24. And you need to enter the difference on line 26 and on your 1040 and 1040 NR form. That's your net PTC. You are getting the tax credit. That's fantastic. Think about it, right? And if you elected the alternative calculation for marriage, you need to enter 0. And if line 24 equals line 25, you want to enter 0 and stop here. But if line 25, your APTC, is greater than line 24, your PTC, you need to leave line 26 blank and continue to line 27. And the line 27 we're showing you right now, this is part 3 here. This is the repayment of excess advance payments of the premium tax credit. So if your APTC is greater than your PTC, you'll need to enter this information in part 3. So on line 27, subtract line 24 from line 25 if line 25 is greater, and you need to follow the form instructions to enter the repayment limitation on line 28. And you need to enter your excess advance payment as advance premium tax credit repayment on line 29. And you need to write the smaller of either line 27 or line 28 on line 29 and on your form 1040 or 1040 NR. And so this is basically the amount you owe in repayment for getting more than your fair share in advance payment of the PTC. So part 4 here, part 4, this is allocation of policy amounts. And you might not need to use part 4 at all, actually, depending on your situation. So lines 1 and 9 include notes that help you determine whether part 4 is necessary for you. So part 4 is basically for shared policy allocations, and you can enter information for up to 4 of them. And this is actually relevant in cases where a healthcare policy was shared between two, what I call quote unquote tax families. So if you and your spouse are filing separately but were covered by the same policy, you need to follow the instructions for this section. Or if you got divorced in the tax year and are now filing separately, but at one point during the year you both were covered by the same healthcare policy, this section is also for you. And if no APTC was paid for a policy shared between two tax families, you need to consult the Form 8962 instructions. And you and the other tax family will have to decide how you will split the burden of reconciling any APTC repayments if applicable. And we have here in part 5. So part 5 is titled Alternative Calculation for Year of Marriage. And this part is only for couples who got married in the tax year for which they are filling out Form 8962. So if this is not you, you can just ignore this section. But if this is you, you really need to go back to the directions of Form 8962 to actually figure out whether you need to fill out this section, because every situation is different. So we don't want to have, we can't give a generic piece of advice here. And so if you go to the instructions of Form 8962, there is a very important element there. This is table 4. It's a chart, and this will help you determine whether you are eligible for the alternative calculation. Now that form is huge, so we couldn't really put it on the screen. So, but it's called table 4. It's a chart, and so if part 5 applies to you, go to the instructions and you will read everything there. All right, folks, this is it for today's conversation. I really want to thank you for your attention. I was talking to you about Form 8962 Premium Tax Credit line-by-line instructions, as well as Forms 1095A, 1095B, and 1095C. And I gave you everything you need to know about that. I explained to you what is PTC, what is APTC, how to claim your PTC on the Form 8962, who must file it, and how to fill it out and how to file it. Thank you so much. I will speak to you another time. But until then, remember, stay marvelous.